Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Health Bridge podcast. I'm your host, Holly B. Today, I'm talking with Sylvie Beljanski, a French lawyer turned health advocate, author, and entrepreneur. She is dedicated to continuing the Beljanski family legacy as international leaders in health and environmental research. She's the founder and president of the Beljanski Foundation. It's a 501c3 nonprofit focusing on natural approaches to cancer. And she also serves as the CEO of Maison Beljanski, an international dietary supplement company. In 1996, she founded Natural Source International, which later became Maison Beljanski, combining science and nature to create innovative health and beauty products. Sylvie's passion for holistic health and integrative medicine has made her a sought after speaker at global health conferences, where she has educated thousands about scientific breakthroughs in these fields. Her book, Winning the War on Cancer: The Epic Journey Towards a Natural Cure, has received numerous accolades, including Amazon bestseller and international book awards. In addition to her writing and speaking engagements, she hosts the Beljanski Cancer Talk Show, which is a podcast series dedicated to exploring comprehensive and integrative approaches to cancer treatment and chronic diseases. Sylvie's story and life mission actually began with her father, Mirko Beljanski, who was a French scientist that actually discovered the link between environmental toxins and carcinogenesis. He devoted his life to researching plants and how plant extracts could be used to treat and cure cancer. We start out our conversation going over her father's journey from his research, his successes, to the last days of his life, and why she ended up taking on his legacy and continuing it forward, bringing it to the United States to continue the research. It's quite a story. You definitely need to listen to that. We discuss really how stem cells and cancer stem cells, what they are in the body, how they present, why it's important to be talking about cancer stem cells, because this is not something that mainstream medicine is really talking about, frankly, because they don't have a way of treating it. And the work that Sylvie is doing by continuing her father's research is that they are able to use her father's plant extracts to actually affect the cancer stem cells in the body, which is why this research is so incredibly important. Currently, they are doing studies on breast cancer research, which I'm sure you know somebody, at least one person who's been affected by breast cancer. I have several friends who have. So this research is incredibly important. But we also talk about how this research and these plant-based extracts are also applicable to RNA viruses as well, and things like Epstein-Barr virus or autoimmune conditions, and how helpful they can be in the body for that, just as much as they can be helpful for both treatment, potential treatment of cancer, as well as mitigating the side effects of chemotherapy and standard Western medical treatments for cancer. So I'd love to invite you to listen in and just keep an open mind. Cancer, just the topic of cancer and cancer treatments can be triggering for some. I know people have very strong opinions on holistic remedies around cancer treatments, whether they work, whether they don't work, whether you can do them in combination with Western medicine or not, whether holistic treatments are a death sentence. I've heard everything. And it's only because we've been hurt by cancer in either ourselves or our friends and family. We know people that have been affected by cancer, and it's emotionally devastating. So whatever side of the spectrum you are on, or maybe you are still looking to form opinions on this, I invite you to listen into this conversation with Sylvie, and you will absolutely learn some really interesting facts about the research they are doing, how it can be beneficial, and may give you just an extra tool in your toolbox for maybe an autoimmune or a viral condition that you're dealing with right now, maybe cancer right now, or just something to have in your pocket for the future. All right, enough talking. Here is my conversation with Sylvie. Sylvie Beljanski, welcome to the Health Bridge podcast. This is an exciting topic that we're going to be discussing around holistic approaches to cancer. And I can't wait to hear everything that we're about to get into. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me today. I'm delighted to be with you today.
So, you are continuing the legacy of your father, Mirko Beljanski.
Yes.
I'd love for you to just start there, start with what he discovered and how you're continuing with his work.
Yeah, sure. So my father was a biologist, PhD in molecular biology. He was associated with the Pasteur Institute in Paris, which is more or less the French equivalent for NIH. And he was one of the first scientists to look at the environment as a cause to cancer. He already saw back in the 70s, 80s, that the number of cancers was rising. He looked for an explanation which was beyond the official explanation of the time that everything was genetic and just random mutations were the explanations to everything, basically. It was, he met a lot of resistance because that was the beginning of heavy pollution by companies who did not care about the environment. Nobody was speaking about that at the time. My father was one of the first ones to identify carcinogens in a number of household products, in food, and say, beware, you should not sell that. And of course, that was very, very poorly received. And then arrived the 80s, and with 80s came AIDS. And my father was the one who had discovered transcriptase reverse in bacteria.
Say that again. He discovered
transcriptase reverse in bacteria. That's a very important enzyme that explains how genetic information not only goes from DNA to RNA to protein, but can go back and forth between RNA and DNA. And there is a very big similarity between the loop of cancer DNA, and an RNA virus. RNA viruses like lupus, like herpes, like HIV, like COVID recently, are single-stranded, just like the DNA of cells. And in that way, the research that he did at the level to understand how this replication thing about RNA viruses helped him to find natural products that would, at the same time, recognize cancer cells and destroy cancer cells selectively without touching healthy cells, but also recognize RNA viruses and attack those RNA viruses, always without toxicity to the body. So now we are in the 80s, and my father becomes quite famous because there was nothing at the beginning to fight AIDS, and he had a good success with his products, and that was very bad received by a number of companies, including associated more or less with Glaxo Wellcome and were pushing for AZT. And my father looked at AZT and said, this is going to be very clastogen, meaning destroying the genes, the genome. It's going to be very difficult. The side effects are going to be very severe and long side effects. So he had some problems with pharmaceutical companies at the time. And then we arrive in the 90s. And in the 90s, former French President François Mitterrand was diagnosed with advanced prostate cancer. And it was the beginning of his second term. Terms were 7 years at the time. So the doctor who was treating the president did the surgery and said the cancer has spread everywhere. The president is not going to finish his second term. We have to prepare the country for early elections. But he had a mistress. And the mistress knew about a good doctor who was having good results with my father's products. That's how Mitterrand started to take the products, and against all official odds, started to get better and better, and indeed was able to finish his second term. And exactly 9 months after Mitterrand finally passed away, the French government sent the army to my father's laboratory to raid the laboratory, to destroy everything. And they radiated my father. They poisoned him. And this strong, healthy man in his 70s got acute myeloid leukemia, and he was at stage 4 in 4 months. And that's where I got involved to try to understand what happened. I was a lawyer by trade, and the more I started to dig into this file, the more it made no sense. It was not about bringing a man to justice. It was about destroying evidences. And then I started to say, evidence of what? And I started to really understand the beauty and the uniqueness of my father's products. That's when I decided to devote my life to make sure that his discoveries would not disappear. Here in the States, I created the Beljanski Foundation for 503(1) non-for-profit. And I was able to create partnerships with a number of academic institutions to carry on the research. I wanted first to have confirmation of my father's work. And then, I mean, that has been the gift that has kept giving. And we have been going beyond and beyond and beyond. We have been able to confirm the synergy of actions between my father's plant extracts and a number of chemotherapies. We have been able to study prostate cancer, advanced pancreatic cancer, ovarian cancer at different stages, in vitro, in vivo. And recently, we have even had some studies on ovarian and pancreatic cancer stem cells, those cells which are responsible for metastasis, recurrence of cancer. And we are currently funding research on breast cancer stem cells.
There's so much in that story that I want to get into, some different rabbit holes. But that is an amazing story. So just to recap and make sure I heard what you were saying, you said that your father was having success in dealing with the AIDS virus.
Yes.
Yes. And that information was squashed by Big Pharma, essentially.
Yeah.
And you also said earlier that the work that he was doing, he discovered how the replication of the cancer cells into RNA that isn't just specifically about cancer cells. We're also looking at different autoimmune conditions. We're looking at, you mentioned COVID.
Yes.
Can
So
you?
what I said is that there is two kind of viruses: there's DNA viruses, RNA viruses, and all the family of RNA viruses, which include the COVID virus, the HIV virus, the lupus virus, the herpes virus. They are very similar in a way to each other. And one of my father's plant extracts is able to recognize and address and destroy those viruses, just like the same way it is destroying cancer cells.
And it's doing that by keeping the healthy cells intact and being able to recognize the
Yeah.
unhealthy.
Yes. The beauty of my father's plant extracts is that they make the difference between the DNA of healthy cells and the DNA of cancer cells, which are always different. I mean, the same difference, there is some big loops, and the hydrogen bonds, which are supposed to keep together the two strands of the DNA in a healthy cells, have disappeared when the cell turns cancerous. They're broken. And that specificity, the little plant extract made of Pao pereira, which comes from the Amazon rainforest, the Pao pereira is able to recognize cancer cells, is able to recognize RNA viruses, and is able to destroy those cells which are invaded by the virus or then cancerous. The mechanism of action for cancer has been studied much more, I have to say, than for viruses.
Really quick, Holly B here. I just wanted to interrupt the podcast to ask you for a quick favor. Can you take just a moment to like and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you are listening in on? It makes a world of a difference. And the reach of this podcast, it takes like literally under 10 seconds. So go do that right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And now back to the episode.
We know the results for viruses because we have had a lot of testimonials. We have had people who were at the time infected with HIV and have been surviving for 25 years. I was just taking this product as a monotherapy. But for cancer, we know that we induce apoptosis of cancer cells. We know that we have also an anti-inflammatory benefit. And we know that we have a regulation of NF-kappa B, which is a modulation for inflammation. And we have up-regulation of the p53 gene, which has to do also with the ability to eliminate and destroy all the bad stuff that is attacking us.
This is incredible. And where do I start? Further down your father's story, as you said, after the French president actually passed,
Yeah.
you said that they came after him, they shut him down.
Yes. Yes, they destroyed him completely.
Yeah.
They destroyed him completely. As a lawyer, I took the case to the European Court of Human Rights because, you know, that's what the lawyers do. They sue, they go to court. And we won an unanimous decision, easy one, actually, because the French government did not even bother to explain what they did and why they did it. They would rather be condemned than provide explanation. I really quickly understood that even though the court decision brought emotional closure, which is important, it was not enough. And my father's legacy was going to be, had to be a scientific one and had to be, we needed American scientific confirmation to be able to carry on and to continue to make the products available, to continue to help a number of people around the world.
Definitely. After you went through that lawsuit and won, which is incredible, did it open your eyes to happenings like this, squashing of these conspiracy theorists that are dangerous to health as we're taught it.
Yes,
I mean,
I mean, you don't want to be extremist, and there are some conspiracy theories maybe who are based on nothing. You cannot generalize, but indeed, some do exist. And have done some research, and I found out that the case of my father is not isolated. There has been a number of other scientists who were not mainstream, and because they are successful in their finding, they are squashed. Generally, they are squashed before their work can be confirmed. What happened with my father is that there was a generation two, to say, we are going to get confirmation in another country, in another language, but I'm going to make sure that this happens.
I thank you so much for continuing to pursue this, because the world needs to know about these things. My background, one of the first things that I really dove into after I had been struggling with chronic fatigue and low immune system for years was starting to learn about herbalism. And I went through just a small local herbal school here, learned Western herbalism, started practicing and using for myself. And I love that there are plant substances that can do miraculous things for us. Can you talk about the different plant extracts that you are referring to that he was working with and that you're continuing the research on?
Yeah, so actually there are four plant extracts. The paupera I told you about, which has antiviral and anti-cancer benefits, plus anti-inflammation, which is very important because inflammation is basically the mother of all the other diseases. There is a Revolutionizing vomitoria extract, so it doesn't fight viruses, but has also hormonal possibility of hormonal regulation. Can be used for hot flashes, but also help with fertility issues, for example. There is a golden ginkgo extract, which helps nothing to do with the green ginkgo extract. It is the same tree, but collected in the fall when the leaves are yellow, and the change of color is actually a reflection of the change of chemistry of them. So the alkaloids that are extracted are different. And this ginkgo extracts helps with skin fibrosis that can happen after radiation. But also the recent research we were able to conduct at Kansas University Medical Center showed that it inhibits angiogenin. Angiogenin is that enzyme that that cancer cells use to create new blood vessels. And they need a lot of new blood vessels to feed the tumor and also to spread to other organs. So it's starving cancer cells. And then there is a green tea extract that we have tested on several lines of melanoma. And so it's good to drink a tea that has anti-cancer properties. And we have put this green tea extract into a line of skincare. But since we are speaking of immunity, I would like to tell you about another little extract, which is not a plant extract. It's made of bacteria, which is naturally present in the gut. It's called E. coli K12. So don't freak out about E. coli, because K12 is known to be non-mutagenic, non-pathogenic, is very safe, and again is a natural host of the intestine. And my father had the idea to mimic with a shortcut what happens normally when we eat nutrients. when we eat nutrients, they go into at the level of the gut, and the nutrients are absorbed through the lining of the intestine to the blood, and it goes to the bone marrow, and the bone marrow creates also white blood cells and platelets, which are at the core of our immune system. My father said, let's make the little RNA, which are specific of the DNA of the bone marrow, will give the bone marrow exactly what it needs to create all the white blood cells and platelets that are needed, but at a much faster rate because we have a shortcut compared to all the digestive process. And sometimes the gut is damaged and the absorption of those nutrients is not maximum. But here we have a little white powder we put under the tongue, and sublingually it goes very fast to the blood. And in 24 hours, you are able to create all the white blood cells, including the natural killer cells that you need, and platelets. Platelets are those cells that are needed for the blood to clot. So we had a clinical trial, actually, a few years ago at Cancer Treatment Centers of America with people who were at the verge of thrombocytopenia, which is a loss of platelets induced by chemotherapy, because chemotherapy, one of the collateral damages of chemotherapy is that, of course, it's killing a number of cancer cells, but also a number of blood cells, healthy blood cells, like leukocytes and platelets. And in this clinical trial, nobody had the need of transfusion. Nobody developed thrombocytopenia, and their bone marrow was actually in better shape at the end of the clinical trial than at the beginning, like if it had been protected during all the time of the clinical trial. So that's very, very important to know, because it's a natural way to support the bone marrow that is visible in 24 hours. And it is, again, specific to the healthy cells. So you are never going to create too much. You are just going to go to the maximum of what is physiologically normal. You are going to optimize your own natural immune system by feeding it with the proper nutrients. And that's absolutely unique. All what is offered through immunotherapy and so on is always to override the immune system, to shut it down. This approach is just about honoring nature and just providing it what it needs, and knowing that very often our body only needs to be nourished just to flourish.
You really hit that on the head. Our body needs to be nourished. And the way that we've been living is a way that doesn't nourish the body, doesn't nourish the mind or the soul. And I think that's where a lot of these issues, such as cancers or autoimmune conditions, stem from, is we're not getting nourished in the way our body was built to be nourished.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and you look at the evolution of the way we live since, the beginning of human times. We used to be nomads and eat a variety of things that we were moving across continents. And then we became, farmers. So we started to limit ourselves to what was going to grow in our own land and depending of the season. And but that's still we had to move and take care. I mean, some physical exercise. And now we are no physical exercise at all, and we are eating ready-made stuff that has nothing to do with the land where we live, the season where we live, and it's full of chemicals. And And I mean, not a surprise, we are getting sicker and sicker, bigger and bigger, sicker and sicker. And autoimmune disease, cancer, is a kind of same expression of the same disease. In one case, the body is not destroying the cells it should destroy, and it allows tumor to grow. And on the other case, it is attacking healthy cells it should not attack. So it's just both ways are the immune system is no longer knowing what it should do or should not do and just has lost its mind. But it needs to be calmed down, nourished, and just gently put back in the right direction.
Yeah, it's two sides of the same coin, I think. And when it comes to, I mean, that's about nourishment. That's about how we were always meant to live, being in touch with the soil, being in touch with our food, being in touch with the sun and moon cycles and living according to that. As we've become less and less nomadic, I think we've just so lost touch. And, there's so many stories you hear of people that are, oh, she was healthy her whole life. She was an athlete. She was this and that. She ate healthy. And then boom, somebody has a massive heart attack or they end up with an autoimmune disease or cancer, quote unquote, out of the blue. And I would like to, put it out there that nothing like this happens out of the blue. There are always things that lead up to that. Would you agree?
Yeah, and it is known that chronic inflammation can grow in the body for 4 to 10 years before expressing some symptoms that can be diagnosed. But the diagnosed is just the end of the first chapter of the story, I would say.
Yeah. Now, with the plant-based treatments that you are working with, you talked about plant stem cells. Can you tell us more about stem cells, how they work in the body?
Yeah, cancer stem cells. So, I mean, people are used to hear about stem cells now. And I want to make clear that there is a difference between healthy stem cells and cancer stem cells.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in here and interrupt the program for just a hot minute. You know that I'm so passionate about this podcast, but what I'm also really passionate about is helping women with lupus minimize their symptoms, boost their energy so that they can indulge in life again. So if you are a woman who is struggling with lupus, who is sick and tired of being sick and tired, who's struggling to manage your flares, if you're finding that your lupus symptoms are just really getting in the way of you being able to live your life the way you want to, I feel you. I've been there myself and I felt the same way. And what I've found is that there are a certain set of health fundamentals that once applied will support you in your foundational health. They will support you in building and maintaining that energy, minimizing flares, and allowing you to, again, indulge in life and follow your passions. So if that is something that you are interested in creating for yourself, let's jump on a call together. I will walk you through the process that I use with my clients to get them from sick and tired to strong foundation of health by implementing my Health Bridge protocol. If this is something you're interested in chatting more about, I would love to talk to you. Apply for a free clarity call with me, and I look forward to getting to know you soon. And now back to the episode.
Healthy stem cells are used for regenerative medicine, and they can have a very positive effect. Here I'm speaking of cancer stem cells. Whether they are healthy or cancerous, stem cells start by being babies, embryonic, and that's what stem means. They are embryonic cells that have the possibility to develop into any kind of cells, prostate like ovaries or brain or whatever. Sometimes when they are cancerous, and when they are cancerous, they can stay in the body for a very long time. They can resist chemotherapy and actually be activated by chemotherapy. There are a number of studies showing that, and eventually travel in the blood and create a new tumor somewhere else. And that's when you heard the little sentence, which is worse than you have cancer. Little sentence even worse is cancer came back because you are exhausted. You know what you have been through once. You have lost your hair. You have lost your appetite. Your life is already upside down. You are exhausted. And then you are being told, well, you have to climb the mountain all over again. And that's why the research that we are currently conducting at the Beljanski Foundation with the Kansas University Medical Center is so important. We have already had good results on ovarian cancer stem cells and pancreatic cancer stem cells. Those publications are available on the website of the Beljanski Foundation, which is beljanski.gov. You can look at that, download all that. And currently we have this ongoing research program on breast cancer stem cells. That's very important because it is known that 1 in 6 women who are diagnosed with breast cancer is going to probably develop another cancer down the road. And as long as people do not hear anything about cancer stem cells, they will not address them. And why they do not hear anything about it is because conventional medicine is unable to address them. So they just brush out the subject as if it did not exist until the time of the recurrence. But I think everybody on day one of the diagnosis should think down the long road and address cancer stem cells with little plant extracts. Paupera, Revolvia vomitoria. Now we are going to have our third publication on the topic, and it shows that we already know they are addressing different stages of cancer, that they work in synergy with chemotherapy, and now cancer stem cells is the new frontier.
It's amazing. So again, you said you are working through several studies on this. You're currently doing breast cancer stem cell studies.
Yes.
So are these plant extracts something that people can have access to now, or something that aren't released yet because you're still in study?
Actually, those plant extracts were those developed by my late father, so they have been around since the 80s. I just have continued to make them available through the website of Maison Beljanski, and then Maison Beljanski provides the extracts that are needed to the foundation to do the research. We cannot do the research out of thin air. We need to have extracts. And the extracts have been available in the States since 1997. Yes, the French police destroyed the laboratory in 1996. So I came here in the States. The first thing I did as a lawyer was to notify the FDA as a new dietary ingredient. So that was done in 1997. And so the products, the extracts have been legally here on the market since 1997.
Oh, wonderful. How you have something exciting coming up that I think people can attend. Would you talk about that? Because I've seen the lineup and it's like the all-stars of holistic health.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. So you do the research, then you want to speak about the research, and then you want to create a community around with all those people you speak with. So that's why we are, the Beljanski Foundation is hosting a conference in Austin, Texas which is April 25 to 27. And the website is integrativecancerconference.com. And there will be indeed 3 days of lectures with excellent speakers. We will talk about cancer, but also autoimmune disease. I think the two topics go hand by hand. And it's going to be the opportunity to listen to those doctors and to ask them questions and to see if one of them would be a good match if you are concerned with a disease, if there is some approach you are vibrating to, and you think that's for me. I would like to learn more about that and become a patient of this doctor.
Mm-hmm. You have a whole range of speakers from, MDs, PhDs, naturopathic doctors, lots of holistic specialties. And I was pleased to see that there's even frequency and energy medicine being addressed as well. Can you speak to that aspect, the frequency, the energy medicine? Have you done any research on that, or?
I have not done any research on that personally, but I do believe that we are vibration, we are energy, and there are many, many ways to address what is not going well in the body, and what is not going well there are different causes. I mean, not everything is physical. We recognize the importance of emotions in what can induce cancer, can induce disease, and all this can be also recognized, picked up with different vibration. And I personally, I have had on my own podcast a number of people working on those vibration and being able to correct the vibration of the person by different systems. And I think it is non-invasive and definitely worth trying. Is it enough always? Maybe not. And definitely, like everything else, it should be part of a lifestyle improvement where you question what you eat, what you drink, how you live, your emotions, your emotional fitness, and all those things. But it's not invasive, and it should be one of the first things to at least to diagnose what is not well in you.
Mm-hmm. It's really all about getting awareness, becoming aware around, like you said, your choices. Is this choice of this meal for my highest and best? Is this going to nourish me, or is this going to potentially take away as I eat it? This TV show, this news that I'm watching, is this nourishing me, or is this putting me in the other direction? It's all these different things, the vibration, the energetics of things. It's not just the physical nourishment of the food, it's also the energetics of the food. It's the energetics of what we're tuning into with our eyes and our ears and what we're scrolling past every day, and it's like we were talking about earlier, it's getting back to the way our body was supposed to interact with our environment. And one last thing that I forgot to ask earlier, with the plant medicines, plant stem cells that you're working with, and your products, does the website indicate directions? Like, is there a specific way you're supposed to use them? Is this something that people can take through, consistently, or is it like, a few times a year as a preventative, or?
Hopefully, if you have cancer, you don't need to take things consistently. The cancer you should overcome the cancer. And then people generally take some one bottle or two in the fall and one in the spring, just to maintain and make sure they keep fighting any cancer cells or recurrence of cancer. And that's enough. For viruses, it's more difficult because viruses tend to stay hidden in the body. You never get completely rid of them. So it has to be taken for a longer time. But you can, as symptoms go away, you can also make windows of time longer and longer and only take the product when there is a trigger, whether you are very stressed by something or a vaccination or something. And then you have the spike of the virus, which is dormant in you. I have been dealing with Epstein-Barr since the past 30, 40 years, and there's some bouts of fatigue, but I take some of the products, and it has never been a big problem ever in my life. At the end of my book, Winning the War on Cancer, the Epic Journey Towards a Natural Cure, I published the protocols that were given by Dr. Markovich, who was a friend of my father. So that I think they are also available in some of the ebooks that we are giving away. So
Wonderful. And so, again, where can somebody find access to that book? Is it on the foundation website?
So the Winning the War on Cancer, the Epic Journey Towards a Natural Cure, is yes, on the foundation website. I have given all my rights as an author to copyright everything to the foundation. So if you buy the book, you are going to support the foundation. Thank you very much. And the products are available on maisonbeljanski.com. All the research is available on beljanski.gov. And you have a lot of research on beljanski.gov, a lot of resources. And we also offer some health coaching. And it's possible like that to have 20 minutes with our health coach, who has been with the company for the past almost 20 years, is extremely familiar on how to use those products and can provide personal insights if you have any question.
Excellent. I am, again, thrilled with your work. I hope that everyone goes to or zooms in to the conference in Austin. I think that's an option, right? You can zoom in or you can go in person.
Absolutely. And in addition to the in-person tickets, there are some virtual tickets for people who cannot come join, but wants nevertheless to listen to all those experts, I have to say.
Excellent. Thank you so much again for the work that you're doing. It is so, so important right now. I appreciate you. Thank you for being on.
Thank you so very much for having me.
I wish I could say that I was amazed at the actions of the French government towards Sylvie's father, Mirko, and his research. But unfortunately, I'm not. And like Sylvie said, not everything is a conspiracy, and I completely wholeheartedly believe that. But I have to say, in the last several years since COVID, we have seen so much canceling of people like Sylvie's father who were making headway in using natural remedies, maybe natural plus Western medicine, to manage and deal with symptoms related around the pandemic that we all just went through. And so I think it's really important to highlight Mirko's story and say, look, this does happen. There are people that are incredibly smart and incredibly passionate about helping people thrive And I think it's such a shame that we are so quick to write those voices off as conspiracy theorists, naysayers, or as quacks, simply because they don't go along with mainstream narrative and the implications that may go along with providing other options for people that are outside of Western medicine. And I'm so grateful to Sylvie for continuing this research. There is so much potential for healing within the use of plant extracts, in addition to all the other modalities that I have guests on to speak about on this podcast, in addition to the foundational health principles that I coach on through my platform. And I just hope that if there's somebody in your life who may be struggling with a cancer diagnosis or cancer treatment, who may be struggling with an autoimmune condition or, some health related issue that we discussed in this podcast, I hope and I ask that you will share this episode with them because, again, I know I say this on so many of my episodes. The goal here is for personal empowerment in your health journey. And the more information we have, the more we can learn to make our own decisions rather than just simply following what we're told is the best thing for us. If you have the means to attend the conference that Sylvie is putting on in April, I highly, highly encourage you to attend. The speakers are phenomenal. If you can't do that, perhaps support the foundation by purchasing Sylvie's book. There will be a ton of valuable information in her book as well. If you are ready to take a lead role in your own health, in your own autoimmune journey, I also encourage you to reach out to me and sign up for a free chat. Let's talk about what you are struggling with the most and give you some key changes that you can implement right away to start to manage your symptoms better and start to get back to an empowered, energetic, passionate life. Thank you so much for listening in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Health Bridge podcast.